There have been various poverty estimation committees. The two most prominent have been the Tendulkar or the Suresh Tendulkar Committee and the Rangarajan Committee. In this video, we will look at the Tendulkar Committee in 2007, which was formed to measure the poverty. Now the question is as to why there was a need to establish another poverty committee, wherein a lot of poverty committees had previously been established, like the YK Alak Committee, the Dandekar Committee, the Lakdawala Committee. After so many committees being established, why was there a need to establish another committee for measuring poverty? So the question on was, okay, why is there a need to measure poverty again? Now the answer lies in the methodology. The idea is, or was, the old approach took into consideration only the calories, right? It was simply 2250 calories, whether you are urban, whether you are rural. Then came YK Alag Committee, and Alag in Hindi means to separate. So YK Alag Committee came and it literally separated the rural and the urban requirement. So the rural requirement was 2400 calories and the urban requirement was 2100 calories. Separate. However, still the poverty estimates were based on calories only. Right, so food alone is not enough. If I ask you the basic needs, it's food, clothing, shelter, bare minimum. Right now, though, you may also add electricity, water, sanitation, internet, maybe a smartphone or a phone at least. But at least at that time, food, clothing, shelter was there, medical, education, all these needs were there. But poverty was being estimated based on the calorie approach only. As a result of which, from calorie-centric approach, we needed to move towards consumption-based poverty approach, which would also include the living standards, which will include healthcare, housing, transport, electricity, essentials, food, clothing, education, shelter, etc. As a result of which, the need for poverty committee on poverty estimation was felt, and we came up with the Suresh Tendulkar Committee. Right. So let us now discuss as to what was the constitution of this committee, what recommendations did it give, what was the response of the government to the committee's recommendation, what was the impact of the recommendation, and what is the relevance of this committee even now. This and much more is what we will see in this video. Before we move ahead, an important announcement about the new batches that are starting at Legacy IAS Academy. So we have regular batches starting from 3rd of August, that's Monday to Friday, and weekend batches from 8th of August, that's Saturday and Sunday, especially for the working professionals and the college going aspirants. The most important thing is our batch sizes are limited to 40 aspirants in order to have that personal attention on each and every aspirant for the teacher. Right, now you will be guided, you will be taught, you will be mentored by the experts in UPSC field. Now once you enroll with Legacy IAS Academy, there are a lot of advantages. Some of them are listed here. That's comprehensive coverage of syllabus. Very important, the game changer is one-on-one mentorship and doubt solving, as well as regular interaction with the educators, the teachers you just saw. Maximum only 40 students will be there. There will be daily mains answer writing practice. At the same time, both prelims and mains test series will be there in order to provide you one-stop solution for all your needs. Once you are here, you don't have to worry about anything else. We have a 360-degree coverage of current affairs, wherein the entire week's current affairs subject wise is taught to you via live classes, and proper reading material which are tailor made for UPSC are provided to you. Now, in addition to this, of course, optional selection, choosing the right optional becomes the most important decision in UPSC. So we come up with 4 of the best optionals there can be. One is psychology with a very limited syllabus. Then there is PSIR, which takes care of your entire GS2, your governance, international relations, so on and so forth. Then anthropology, probably the smallest syllabus of any optional is of anthropology, and maybe the second or third smallest is sociology. All these top choice optionals are also offered at Legacy IAS Academy. The new batch is starting on 17th of August for 2027 as well as 2028 aspirants. So if you are interested in any of these options, you can also enroll with us for them. If you want to enroll, just simply download the app or call on this number which is given to you. Now let's continue with our committee. So let's understand what was the background, what was the economic problem which was the background with respect to the committee when it was established. First things first, as I have told you, outdated calorie based poverty line was there, wherein only calorie was taken into consideration, other things were ignored. So now it was high time that calorie alone can no longer reflect the living standards, you need other things as well. At the same time, there was rising private expenditure. With the 1991 privatization has happened, a lot of private things are coming up, you need to spend more money. So private schools, private hospitals, medicines, diagnostic centers were leading to increase in the prices or the expenditure of a household. Then inconsistency in the state-wise poverty line was also there. However, we never had a specific state-wise poverty line, so that issue will still continue. Anyway, increasing in urbanization, so rent, public transportation, electricity, healthcare, education in the urban area was also need to be incorporated considerably, as a result of which we came up with a new committee. Let us look at the committee itself. So the chairperson, the committee is named after the chairperson. So chairperson was not Sachin Tendulkar, chairperson was Suresh Tendulkar. This committee was constituted in 2005 and submitted its report in 2009. Right, who appointed that committee? That is also important. UPSC is asking question with respect to that as well. So it was the planning commission that appointed the committee. What was the objective? To recommend new methodology for estimating poverty in India, wherein calorie will not be enough, you have to come up with new methodology. It replaced the Lakdawala Committee methodology which was given previously. Right. What were the terms of reference? Means what was the committee tasked to do? First, review the existing methodology. Second, examine international best practices. What is happening in the rest of the world? Suggest scientifically robust poverty line. It should be scientific. It should have some rationale behind it. It should not be random. Then improve comparability across states. It should be easily be able to compare across the states and reflect the changing consumption patterns. Consumption pattern changes, the basket of the consumption changes, something is added, something is removed. So that changing consumption pattern should be basically reflected over here. So having said that, let us now see what were the recommendations that this committee gave. So the key recommendation of the Tendulkar Committee, which came out in 2009. So what it did is, it shifted from the old calorific approach to a consumption based approach. Previously it was this much calories, so how much rupee you need to buy this, that is the poverty line, end of story. But now it's a consumption based approach. Tendulkar approach included healthcare, education, transportation, food, clothing, shelter. These three basic things are there. In addition to this, other essential expenses using consumption expenditure method. So it included, first thing, shift from calorie norms to consumption expenditure. Second, uniform urban poverty basket, UUPB, uniform urban poverty basket, which was a common basket, right, for state comparability. And mixed reference period what followed. What is mixed reference period? See, remember, there are three reference periods. One is uniform reference period, then there is the mixed reference period, and then there is the modified mixed reference period. In uniform reference period, what happens? Consumption expenditure is asked for 1 month or for 30 days, last 30 days. But that is not good enough, because month by month consumption may differ. So in mixed reference period, what happens is, they will ask you consumption of 5 non-food items, that is clothing, footwear, durable goods, education and institutional health, for the last 365 days, how much you have spent on this. For the rest of the thing, they will ask you only 30 days of consumption. So food etc. for 30 days consumption is what they will ask. I hope that is clear. Now next is including the private expenditure. So they did include the private expenditure also, the private healthcare, private education, which is also very important over here. Okay, so this is additional which was not there previously. Let me also tell you, modified mixed reference period is similar. They just added 7 days of reference period for perishable items, items which can get spoiled soon for them. Then improved price adjustment for rural, urban and different states. They adjusted the price of the things. So they are not calculating the poverty line separately. The poverty line would be the same, but price adjustment they have done, and nationally comparable poverty line, so that it is comparable and by adjusting across the states. Once they did it, they came up with a poverty line. What is that? At 2004-05 prices, the rural poverty line came to be 447 rupees per month. Urban poverty line came to be 579 rupees per month. But it later got updated to 2011-12 prices, and it was said that it is 816 rupees per month and 1000 rupees per month. So that comes out to be 27 rupees per day and 33 rupees per day. Okay. However, this figure became a politically controversial figure and a cause of huge debate. Why? Because the number is very small, guys. The number is absolutely shambles, small. That is why the debate, which we will see. What was the government's response? Right, so as far as government is concerned, government accepted the Tendulkar Committee methodology, as that will be the official basis of estimating it. Based on the Tendulkar Committee report, what happened is, at poverty ratio in 2011-12 number came out to be approximately 22%. But based on 2004-05, the number is different. Based on 2004-05, with the new methodology, Tendulkar Committee gives a number of 37.2%, which is a very high poverty ratio. That's over 37 crore people who are poor. However, this methodology guided the government's welfare planning resource allocation from the year 2009 to 2014. So this is what the government response was. The government did take that into consideration for formulating its policy. What has been the impact on India? First things first, this new method modernized the poverty measurement with respect to the entire basket rather than only the calories. It improved the identification of the poor, identifying the people who are poor properly, or else it was just calorie requirement. That means a lot of other poor people would have been outside the ambit previously. Now they will be included. It helped in better policy formulation by the government of India. Greater interstate comparability was possible with the help of this new poverty line given by Tendulkar Committee, and it was aligned internationally to the international standards as well. So these are the positive things that came out of it. However, there are certain criticisms and there are certain debates. So let us see that as well. First, poverty line was considered to be too low. Just think of it. Even if you are in 2009, just think of it. 27 rupees per day in the rural area and 33 rupees per day in urban area. Now, this is quite low because this is not some expenditure which can suffice, right? It does not even probably pay a rent of a proper house. So that is why it was criticized. Next, continued underestimation of poverty. So because the poverty line is very low, you will be underestimating it. Poverty would be way more than what you have estimated here. Next, the consumption does not equal to income. You are talking about consumption expenditure, income would be different. Income would probably be higher. For example, you are earning 100 rupees, spending only 25 rupees, you might be considered as poor, but your income is high, you did not spend that money, for example. So it did not take into consideration income, it take into consideration the expenditure. So the savings and all were not included, so that also brings in discrepancy in the data. Regional cost differences, there was significant variations in the cost differences that were used. Then limited multi-dimensional perspective, only limited things were taken into consideration. A lot of things which could have been a part were still kept out of the report. Now, what is the legacy and the current relevance of this committee? Why does it still matter? See, after this, another committee did come up. What is that committee? That is Rangarajan Committee, which we will see later. It gave its report in around 2014. We'll see that in detail. But another committee came. So that committee would sort of become more important because it will supersede this. However, it still remains relevant because it was the committee that transformed the calorie intake method to the consumption expenditure method, which is linked to the living standards. Now, living standard comes from not just the calorie which is nothing but the food, but it also comes from clothes, from shelter, from education, from health, from other things as well. Right, from the assets, from the safe drinking water, sanitation. However, safe drinking water, sanitation, etc. was not taken into consideration, but still some of the factors which is a part of the living standard of a person were definitely taken into consideration. This is a good step. Next what it did is, it also created a conceptual foundation for any future estimation of poverty. Now, since this poverty line, this committee shifted, now you will not be going back. Now, future committee will not come and talk about only the calories. It will bare minimum talk about these things, and in addition to this, it will talk about something else as well. So, it has sort of set a standard when it comes to the committee's recommendation or the criteria that was used for poverty estimation. Next, it influenced later reforms. Not just the later poverty estimations via the committees, but the later reforms. Of course, it influenced the work of the Rangarajan Committee in 2014, which I said we will see in the next chapter on our committee series. But at the same time, the policy formulation was also influenced by it, because now whatever number you have, using that number you have to come up with poverty alleviation scheme, or when you talk about National Food Security Act, etc. is going to come in 2013. So after this committee gave its report, after that comes the National Food Security Act. So the government did use the numbers in its policy formulation, of course. Next is, it paved the way for multi-dimensional poverty index. Right now, we have the multi-dimensional poverty index. Now remember, this multi-dimensional poverty index that is there, it is brought out by two organizations. At an international level for various countries, it is brought out by UNDP, that is United Nations Development Program. But for India also they bring it. But specifically for India, our Niti Aayog also brings out the multi-dimensional poverty index. However, there is a slight difference. Majorly, both the organizations' calculation are different. It's just that Niti Aayog has added two additional parameters. One is the maternal mortality is added in Niti Aayog's calculation, which is not there in UNDP. And second, Niti Aayog has added bank accounts in its calculation, which is not there in UNDP. However, for both of them, the range is from 0 to 1, 0 being the lowest, 1 being the maximum, and the cutoff is 1 by 3. So anyone who has 33.33% or 1 by 3 of the things is not multidimensionally poor. Others who are below it will be considered as multidimensionally poor. So this is that committee which led to paving the way for broader discussion on multidimensional poverty. It generally consists of three dimensions. One dimension is that of health. It is given a weightage of 1/3. Next dimension is that of education, again given a criteria or weightage of 1/3, and then it is the living standard, again giving the weightage of 1/3. So three dimension thing it is. Together it constitute maximum 1, right? But each one have been equally given 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 weightage. Anyone who has at least 1/3 score is not multidimensionally poor. Anyone below that will be multidimensionally poor. Now, the thing is, people may think if everyone has this, they are not multidimensionally poor. Yes, that is correct. But generally, there is an overlap. If you have everything over here and nothing over here, that is a bit difficult. Everything over here and nothing over here, that is also a bit difficult. So poverty also spreads into various dimensions, but yes, there is a possibility someone can have education, etc., but nothing else. At the same time, the poverty with multidimensional poverty index can be higher, lower, or same as compared to poverty via the poverty line. Remember it, it is not necessary that multidimensional poverty index will always, the proportion of poverty from this will always be higher or always be lower or always be same as that of poverty line. It can be higher, lower, or same as well. Practically being exactly the same is quite difficult. So theoretically it can be, but generally it will either be higher or lower. This poverty through multidimensional poverty index would be lower than the poverty through poverty line if the government is providing a lot of things which satisfies the criteria present in the multidimensional poverty index. So that's about it from my end with respect to the Suresh Tendulkar Committee. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so that you are notified whenever we are live or whenever we bring out a new video. In this committee series, the next video would be on Rangarajan Committee and the other committees. So stay tuned. Thank you.